What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Comics and Crypto. Today we have a very special guest on our live stream. We have Tony Simerman, who is the CEO and founder of KnuckleBonz. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Tony.
How are you guys?
Doing great. Yeah, normally we got a couple other members in the podcast, but just doing this one solo. This is actually, I think, the first one I've done solo in a while, in maybe like 6 months. So nice. Also, my first one that I've done in our studio with the background. I'm very nomadic. I'm usually traveling around, so I rarely have a nice background with lots of collectibles behind me.
All right, I'll be your wingman, no problem.
Nice, appreciate that, Tony. Well, so I see that you got some collectibles behind you, so it looks like you're a collector yourself.
I do. Those are what we create there.
Beautiful. So I guess outside of what you guys produce at KnuckleBonz, are you a collector of other things like music related memorabilia or comics or really anything else?
Yeah, I mean I've got Backstage animation cells and some Frazetta stuff, and the typical stuff we all had when we were growing up.
Nice, very nice. So yeah, I would love if you could really just introduce yourself and give us a little bit about your background. Would love if you could tell us a little bit about. So yeah, I understand that your dad actually worked as the manager at the Kennedy Center in DC, and I played at the Kennedy Center in high school. I was in jazz band in high school, and our jazz band had the opportunity to go and play there, which was a really cool experience.
You were at the concert hall.
Yeah, at the concert hall. Yeah.
Pretty nice facility, eh?
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Yeah, definitely one of the better places I played at in my life. Definitely.
So this is KnuckleBonz. I'm the CEO and creative director, and we're 20 years old this year. 20 in a row. And we create high-end collectibles specifically for music. So we're a music company versus a toy and collectible company. That's how we describe ourselves. We're the only ones smart enough or dumb enough to focus on music. But as we know,
who doesn't like music though?
Yeah, music fans, cross over to lots of different types of entertainment, of course. And comics is certainly one of them.
Yeah. That's for sure. Well, so I guess what was it like growing up and being around the Kennedy Center and just around that whole environment? I'm sure you got to see some incredible things backstage and got to meet some incredible artists.
I did, and the reason I was going in, I had to go into work with my dad, who was the manager, so he's the last word for those facilities. It was because both parents worked, and I just needed someplace to go, so I was just into work with Dad. So
were they putting you to work, or were you just hanging out?
I was hanging out.
Yeah.
And just I'm 8 or 9 years old, right? So it's go and do what you want, but the stagehands were like my uncles and babysitters. They kept me out of trouble for the most part. But I wasn't going in to say, initially to say I want to see anybody in particular. I'm just there. So any given time I could see something amazing like the National Symphony, and then Willie Nelson would come in and the Bolshoi Ballet, and but I was into really heavy and progressive music pretty early, like that 8, 9, 10 era. So that would have been like either side of 1970.
Okay.
So Sabbath is happening. Uriah Heep's happening, Deep Purple,
some Rush,
progressive rock's happening, Rush is happening.
King Crimson. I don't know if King Crimson ever made it to that stage, but
they did. Now Greg Lake's not there; he's in EOP.
Yeah.
But I saw King Crimson from behind the stack.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so that's how it would work. I was too little to go, and if I wanted to see something, I couldn't go out and sit in the audience. I was too little. So they would put a chair behind the speaker stack. So, here's the stage, and everybody's still stacked speakers either side of the stage. It's not now, you can hang it. It's so technical. They had these big, huge, bone-crushing cabinets, and I would sit behind them, literally right up against it, so I wasn't in the way.
Yeah.
And I would go out right before the house lights would go down. And
awesome.
was told, don't move till you get the all clear signal, then I could come out. Cause when the house lights go down, it's really friggin' dark. You can't see, and there's cables and stuff, and the guys are getting flashlighted out to go out and get in position. But yeah, King Crimson, that was a good one.
I've never had the opportunity to see them. I mean, recently when they've been touring, I mean, obviously it's not the same band that as playing back then, but they have like 3 drummers normally they tour with. It's
Robert
incredible.
Fripp, and it was Fripp and Bill Bruford at their pinnacle.
Yeah. And then I guess like the later days, like Adrian Belew and those guys. But yeah, I'm a big prog guy myself. My dad, he was very, very much into progressive rock, and so he got me into all that kind of stuff. So I listened to a lot of like the newer, like Steven Wilson and Porcupine Tree, and a lot of the newer bands as well. But yeah, I love just the musicianship, that music has.
And back then you weren't going to hear it on the radio, and of course you still don't. And
still don't,
there's no internet, so you found that by an older cousin or brother or sister or whatever. In my case, when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, my parents decided I needed to go to Catholic school, and they didn't have bus service, so they hired a neighbor kid just to give me a ride to school. So in the 8-track, that's where I start getting Yes and the James Gang and Blood Rock and all this old heavy stuff. So I, from the DNA level, that's where all that started. And then my dad gets the jobs at the Kennedy Center, so that was the perfect storm. It was awesome. So even though I'm 8, 9, 10, I'm buying the records and seeking out the bands, very, very early on. And then the story goes, Queen owes their appearance at the Kennedy Center to me.
To you personally?
They owe it to me personally. So because I was into the heavier stuff, my dad knew this, he would hear what was coming out of the room.
Yeah.
And Kennedy Center is a publicly funded thing. It, exists on donations. So they can't say, well, this is rock or this is progressive rock or metal or whatever, and they can't deny somebody who wants to perform there. So what my dad figured out was any of those bands I liked, it's going to have a heavier crowd. So he could claim this band's a risk to the facility, and he would ban it if I liked the band. So he'd come and say, "Hey, have you ever heard of have you ever heard of Iggy and the Stooges?" And I love Iggy Pop. And he wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
And have you ever heard of Todd Rundgren and Utopia? Have you ever heard of? And I would go and say, "Yeah, hey, Dad, whatever happened to Todd Rundgren?" He's, "Oh yeah, they just decided."
Yeah.
I figured out what he was doing was if I said I like something, he could go and deny the promoter and say they're a risk to the facility. So I figured out what he was doing, and in 1975 he comes and it's like, "Hey, I want to run some bands by him." Okay, you ever heard of Queen, Kansas, or Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush? What was the last one? Frank Marino. No, I don't think I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
And of course, Sheer Heart Attack had just come out. I had all the Queen records.
Yeah.
I had made my return from Miriam Rom with Kansas and loved Frank Marino. So about a week before the show, it was on a Saturday, and I said, "Hey, Dad, I want to go into work with you." And he's like, "Well, why? It's Saturday. You don't have to go in. You can stay home with Mom." And I'm like, "Well, checked out the Queen band. I think they're pretty cool." And he's like, "I thought you said you didn't know anything about them." "Oh, there's a record on the radio since then." And he's like, "Oh shit." So he runs over and calls the box office and said, what are sales for Saturday?" And they're like, that was like a 2-hour sellout. "What's security?" "No, normal security." He's like, "Okay, we need to get the the police force for the Kennedy Center is the Park Service.
Okay. Oh, really?
And since you've been to the Kennedy Center, you know how the front of the house is very, very open. It's not like there's a gate you can go through and get
Yeah.
patted down. So in the 70s, gate crashing was an art form. So he had to have mounted police,
Wow.
there to keep, and it's a sold out show. And Queen is,
Yeah.
all those bands are hot,
Yeah.
Queen,
The height of what they're doing.
Queen
Yeah.
goes to like Queen. 2 years later, Frank Marino closes Cal Jam 2, so they're bands that are busting at the seams. So he's like, the Queen owes that. They would have gotten blackballed if I hadn't sandbagged the old man.
Wow. Well, they owe you then.
They owe me big. That's where it all started.
Yeah. Do
But
you have any? Sorry. Go ahead.
But interesting story is Queen had a effect. Wasn't a lot of stage shows back then, unless you were, Kiss. That was about it. But Queen had a machine called fog juice machine, and it's used in TV film, and the fog flows really low across the stage. It doesn't ride up like dry ice, and can get in the way of the band. And it's good for that, but it leaves like a little resin. It's oil based. So he sees that and is like, get that shit out of here, because if you know what's, at the very top of the stage there, it's the huge pipe organ. So he's like, see that right there? That will absolutely ruin this, 100-foot tall pipe organ.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, no problem. We got dry ice, and they switch it out. But they put it back and did the show with the fog juice. And it got all over the Kennedy Center pipe organ, and it cost $25,000. This is $1975, so whatever.
Yeah.
That's like $3 million today. So yeah, he didn't ask my opinion anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, after that one.
Got him good though. That was a good bill to get him on.
Seriously, wow. Were you exposed to anything like really crazy, like bands misbehaving, or like Metallica doing some wild shit backstage, or anything like really really fun like that?
I knew enough to kind of steer clear of it. I mean, I saw some this crazy ruckus partying. Luckily, there was never any destructive stuff. It was just more the stuff you'd see in the crowd.
Yeah.
The 1970s. Smoking is still legal in arenas, and you're not supposed to smoke weed, but you could go in and smoke. So the light shows were amazing, because there was the place was just absolutely inundated with smoke all the time. So the light show looked great.
Nice.
But got to meet. If I was interested in meeting somebody, that was always there. But it's funny, when you do it all the time and you're around, I don't want to say didn't worry about it, but it was just,
yeah.
If I'd see somebody to sound check, I'd say hi. But I didn't ask for autographs. I just, I was just there. I was part of
just enjoy the experience. Yeah.
Part of the scene. But got to shake hands, or, at least see sound checks from, amazing stuff. That's where you especially then, if you'd see an opening band that was, newer, a lot of times they didn't get sound checks. So they were so excited to get a sound check in a nice venue. I mean, they would just be, really psyched and do see some amazing stuff at sound check.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Scooping around.
Nice. Are you a musician yourself?
No, I'm all visual side of art.
Visual.
I can clap on 1 and 3, but
nice. That's something better than some people.
I have a guitar with an effects pedal. There we go.
Nice.
No chops, just an amazing appreciation for music, and then the marriage of images and music. The idea of a arena show and bands going beyond, to put on a show that was, the 70s was a great time for that, because technology starts to get good enough where you can do some pretty cool stuff. I mean, nothing like it is today, but you know,
I remember I've seen videos of those like Genesis laser shows from the 70s. Yeah, they were doing cool stuff.
Roger Dean sets were super amazing. ELP would have some cool projection stuff. Rush, you know, is the second they get big enough to be able to, you know, invest in themselves and do things, they're doing amazing stuff. Kiss Destroyer in '76 with opening act Cheap Trick was a highlight. You know, it was first time was ever near flash pots at any scale, and I'm probably 10th row. And you know, when the flash pots went off, the heat was
wow. Yeah.
Damn. Didn't expect that.
How's your hearing?
It's got to be impaired.
I was gonna say, just being exposed to all that. I mean, because I know. I mean, I grew up playing music, and I played bass. So I'm like literally right next to the drummer, and he's just slamming in my ear the whole thing. There's no way I don't have damage.
There's you know, and like I said, the bands would always overdo it. You know, especially in the Kennedy Center, because in the Kennedy Center you can sit in the back of the hall, and you can just speak a line, and you know, if you're trying hard, you can hear it.
Yeah.
And the bands would come in and just, you know, have these friggin' Mesa Boogie, friggin' bone crunching systems. And it was like, what, dude?
Yeah. So this is not an outdoor festival. This is a theater that is designed for good acoustics that everybody can hear.
But any of those shows, if you were close, you'd have, you know, the underwater head for the next day anyway. Yeah. Maybe even more than that. AC/DC Back in Black was the most pulverizing.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Two days later, I'm thinking, did I go swimming? So yeah, it's no wonder that Brian Johnson has hearing issues today.
Yeah. No kidding.
But now it's all high tech. Everybody's got the good ear monitors and stuff, so it's much safer.
Definitely. So I'd love to get into a little bit, I guess, how that transition happened from you being with your dad at the Kennedy Center to, you know, now having this awesome company, KnuckleBonz. And so how did you start the whole company, and how that all began?
So, you know, I'm an artist and classically trained in art and TV film. So that's where my education was. But, you know, the love of music and album art, you know, album art was more important than anything. Yeah. More important than comics, more important than TV shows. That's where you connected. You know, you went and found that record, and you maybe didn't know anything about the band. I mean,
the art was just so cool.
I didn't find ELP until Brain Salad Surgery, and I saw the Giger cover, which is still, I think, one of the greatest pieces of art ever created. Forget album. And you know, not always, but you go home and you drop the needle on that thing, and it, you know, it matches your excitement when you saw the art, and then when you hear the music, and the two things marry up. So that's where the reverence started. But I produced computer games for about a decade, and was just getting tired of that. It would, you know, when I founded again, I was at Microsoft Softimage, the 3D company, and founded a game company with, you know, three guys made a whole 3D game. And by the time I left, you know, budgets were $2-4 million, teams were 40 people, and it was no fun. So liked the toy and collectible category, and looked at it and said, you know, there's people are doing bits and pieces from music. You know, McFarlane had done some neat stuff, but you know, nobody's really focused on it. And growing up like I did, I know the music fans are every bit as passionate as any, you know, TV, film, comic fan base.
Yeah.
nobody's focused on them. So that was find a need, fill a need. And this is 2003, so the idea of that's about the time everybody starts to get comfortable putting a credit card
Yeah.
in a web field. So direct to consumers happening there. So I'm like, okay, I think I can find the fans. I know they're there, and we can found a company, and I don't have to worry about trying to sit down with the Walmart or the Target buyer. We can find each other. And that was 20 years later. That's what we're doing.
Cool. Well, I'm going to share the website just so that people can get an eye for some of the things that you guys have built. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about, I guess, the different types of collectibles you have. Maybe like different categories. Is it all statues like this, or do you guys do other things as well?
They're all limited edition handmade statues, but we have 3 series today. So the one we're most known for, and the one that's 20 years old, is called Rock Icons, and that is when we're doing a particular performer, in a live performance stance with an instrument. That figure, we want it to look like it's a live moment in music. So that's the oldest one and the one we're most known for. But after we'd been around about 10 years, and I was we had an event, and then we were at a big trade show, and on the heels of those 2 things, I had some buyers and some fans come up and say, "Oh, this is so amazing what you do. It's great. I love the band, but I'm never going to buy any of it." And I said, "Wait a minute, what was the last thing?" You love it. You're a super fan of the band, but you're never going to buy any of it. Well, why not? I'm not into the figure category. And there's people, and I've never bought a bobblehead. I've never bought an action figure. I've never bought a statue. It's just, I'm not into the category. And I'm like, we have to fix that. So that's when the idea for what we call 3D vinyl came. So going back to the reverence for album art, everybody loved that. What if we make it more focused on the album art we all grew up with? And that's what 3D vinyl is. So anything that's inspired by album cover is what that is. So Infesticinum there for Ghost, or The Witch, or Black Sabbath there. You see Black Sabbath on the right.
This one here.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that's inspired by Never Say Die, the pilot.
Yeah.
Power Age, inspired by that cover.
Oh yeah, like this one is.
Yeah.
One of the most recognizable Iron Maiden covers for sure. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
So, and that one's actually right behind me. So we took it one step further, and from where I sit, the coolest moment that you can have is being in an arena, and right before the lights go down, and you're excited to see that band, that live experience, and the lights come up, and you'll be hit with that amazing stage prop or something involved in the show. So that we felt like those needed a category of their own. So we have what's called on tour. So things like the AC/DC Hell's Bell, or if you want to flip the camera around here, I've got the Pink Floyd Pig. There's the Hell's Bell there on the website.
Yeah.
So anything that was a piece of a stage prop, or a piece of touring gear, we call on tour. And it actually goes in a road case, like the.
Oh yeah, I see the road case. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, cool.
And the road case is a Distress. It looks like it was, that's 1974.
Yeah.
The set list from that tour is there at scale on the road case, so you can actually see what the set list was.
Yeah. Pink Floyd always had great props.
Yeah. I've got one. I've got the pig here. If you want to flip the camera around, I'll open it up and show it. Yeah.
Let me, there you go.
So here, just to give you an idea on scale. So that's.
Oh yeah, there you go.
About 5 inches, and it's a functioning road case. And then Algae, the pig that escaped Battersea and flew out to sea and like disrupted air traffic at Heathrow. That's a true story.
Oh, really? I did not hear that story.
They were for the cover, they were flats at actual, Floyd, Roger Waters, it was his idea, and they were the first to have, the inflatables.
Yep.
And the pig was one, and they flew it over the Battersea power station there, and a little bit of wind, and it breaks the cable.
Oh, jeez.
And just floats off, and it ended up in a farmer's field, 100 miles away, but it disrupted air traffic at Heathrow.
That's so funny.
Spinal Tap moment.
Yeah.
But those are the three categories, and then this fall we're gonna do some things on the digital side for the first time.
Nice. So, are you able to reveal anything around that, or?
I can just say we're not just going to be scanning in album art and changing the color of it and saying here's a collectible. It's going to be 3D and cool and just an extension of what we've been doing for 20 years.
Awesome. And are they going to be sold as NFTs?
Yeah. I mean, digital collectible NFT that people have. There's such a stigma about that. That's just
sure. Yeah, digital collectible, but it's just the technology behind it. Yeah,
the mechanism by which you protect it and you get the authenticity. But we're gonna have KnuckleBonz City where you're gonna be able to go around and do some amazing things. And people ask on the digital side, well, why would I can get the real thing? Well, there's some things we can do in digital that we can't do in physical. Yeah. For example, I can put Sheldon from Death, in a club and put you in the club and let you fly around. And, this is what it looked like in 1990, whatever. Or you can see James Brown at the Apollo. Drum kits, for us to do a drum kit as a limited edition statue, a full kit, we could make it. The issue now is, though, if we do a band, the drummer is going to be 4 or 5 times more expensive. And is it really practical? All the things are hand cast, pieces of fine art to make a drum kit with skinny riding tom legs and cymbal stands and things. Not really practical. Digitally you can do that, no problem. So
anything you guys can think up, you guys can build. So
I mean, that's people, why would I care? That's the biggest thing. If it's a traditional collector, why would I care about digital? Well, we're going to give you some things that you can't have on the physical side.
Exactly.
And with us, it's not, we're coming into the collectibles category and trying to glom on to what is a trend. We're going to do the same thing we've been doing for 20 years. Just going to extend it to that, and a decade from now, the conversation will be different. Totally. When it's new, there will be some people who don't like it, and feel free to ignore us. If that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is the time to be launching something like that. Is in this bear market, like you'd rather be like building a community and building people, getting people involved who really care about the space, and whereas when you launch something in like a big hype period, you get a lot of speculation. It's a little bit harder for like building a long-term community and long-term brand in that space. Yeah.
I mean, it was maddening because people would say, so, do you, this is really big. Do you know anything about it? I'm like, yeah, I know a little bit about it. I made 3D games for a decade. And KnuckleBonz is 20 years old, but that's how I started my professional career in TV, film, 3D. So we know a lot about it. So it'll be cool. So that's new and coming. I think we'll be ready in early fall, but that's something we're ready when we're ready. We're not in a hurry.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to have you guys back on when you guys are ready to announce that, because we obviously we talk about both the digital and the physical side of things, and we love the intersection of both. So we'd love to talk a little bit more about that once you guys have some more details to share.
Yeah, I mean that's we've got the opportunity to do some variants and things that are super rare, and typically our edition numbers are 3,000
Hmm.
for the the live statues. 3D vinyl, we set the edition number typically to whatever the year the album was released.
Oh, cool. I like that.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but we might do something that has a wider release on the digital side, and might be like super exclusive on the physical side. We might
Hmm.
do some Infestissum for Ghost. We did a super short run of that, only 333, and that
Okay.
that lasted a couple of days. So that sucks if you miss out, but collectors, we try to protect, we're collectors ourselves, and we try to
Hmm.
protect collectors, and we know what people care about. So we've never re-released anything.
Beautiful.
We don't go
Yeah.
crazy with the short run stuff, but we do it, and when we do, it's cool. And once you've got one of those, as a collector, if you're that collector that bought one to show and one to stash,
Hmm.
you're in a pretty good spot. If you look at the secondary market for our stuff on uh, eBay, it can be pretty crazy. But that's
Really?
that's the
Nice.
point of a
I'll have to
limited
take a look.
edition.
Yeah.
That's the point of
Totally.
a limited edition collectible. The when we launched the new digital space, we're thinking about doing our own marketplace.
Mhm.
So rather than just have it out on eBay where it's just such a fracas, we'll curate and do some things ourselves. We've got in the vault, we've got things, that everything we made for 20 years, we typically have some of, so we might trot that back out.
Yeah.
But it
Nice.
goes out at face value. We don't, because it's gone, we don't charge a bunch of money for it. It goes up at whatever the face value was, and fans decide what it's worth. We don't do
Exactly. Yeah. It's the beauty of collecting. Well, Tony, it's been so great having you on today. One thing that we wanted to announce real quick. Um, so for whoever's listening live or for whoever comes back and watches the recording, um, KnuckleBonz has decided to give a 10% off coupon code for any of our listeners who want to go ahead and buy something from their site. So I'm putting it up on the screen now. So right there, that is the promo code. So if you use that on the KnuckleBonz website, which we have in the description below, you'll be able to get 10% off anything that you want to purchase there. So thank you, Tony, for so generously providing that to our listeners.
that. Happy to do it. Our stuff needs good. We want it to go to good homes.
Hmm.
We're always happy when somebody gets something and really like it. It got a good home, we say.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we have a lot of true collectors in our listener base. So hopefully somebody picks up something really cool.
Good deal.
Awesome. Well, Tony, we'll definitely make sure to have you on when you guys are ready to announce some more stuff on the digital side. We definitely want to talk more a little bit about that. But for everybody listening, make sure that you follow KnuckleBonz and all their socials, and make sure to check out their website. Tony, you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, well, the one thing I would say is, if you have a chance to see that band, summer touring, everybody's gearing up. Don't sleep on it. Get out
Mhm.
there and see that band, because you never know when it can get taken away.
Speaking of which, I'm trying to go see Dead and Co for their final show in SF.
There
So
you go.
yeah, maybe I'll
Yeah,
see you there.
don't sleep on it. Get out there and see the bands you like.
Yeah, love it. All right. Well, thanks so much, Tony. All right. See you later.